guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome to those of you just joining for the first time. If you guys have been watching the last couple of vlogs, then you would have known that I will see my background was different, but I'm back where I usually am with my lovely verse on my wall again. So I'm happy to be back for various reasons is why I was not here before, but we thank God. But anyway, enough about my wall. But this vlog, it's actually the one that I wanted to do 2 weeks ago, but God told me to do otherwise. So I just hope that this comes at the right time for someone. So I hope you guys will be blessed and encouraged.
Story goes, it took a long time. Only God knows, but it's alright, but it's okay, because I'm here to encourage.
So this vlog is all about waiting and kind of patience as well. So for those of you that actually know me in person, you'll know that I'm not exactly the most patient person. Like, I'm the kind of person that gets frustrated when the boss says that it's coming in 3 minutes and it takes 5 minutes. I'm the person that gets frustrated when I feel hungry and it just feels like the food is not cooking like it should be. So I'm that kind of person, just letting that out now. As much as I'm really working on that, I honestly am. It's something that I have to disclose, I have to be honest. I try to be honest. So when I hear that word waiting, yeah, it rings alarm bells for me. But as I said, it's something that as a Christian I am really trying to work on with God, and God definitely knows how to create a lesson or make a lesson out of things, because this season, like many of my other seasons that I've spoken about before, yeah, has definitely been a waiting season, a season where God knows that he's really has to make me be patient, because as I said, I'm not a patient person. And so for those of you that have watched previous vlogs that I've done before, so my most recent vlogs, you'll know that I was going through still currently going through like family issues and family problems. And for me, when there are issues, there are problems, I'm always trying to fix things. I can be a control freak in that sense. So as soon as like problems started to arise, I was like, okay, Chelsea, get into action. You need to sort this out. You need to figure it out. And I kind of went into overdrive, I would say, when it came to family problems. But like always, I don't know when to stop until I can't do anymore, until my body physically cannot take anymore. And that kind of happened, like I was explaining in previous vlogs, and when it came to these family issues. And honestly, just having to take a step back and wait for things, prayerfully wait for things, because that is the important thing. When you're waiting, you should still be praying, but prayerfully had to wait for things to kind of get better. It was a very hard season, it was a very hard time, and a very hard thing to do. And even now that not everything is sorted out, it still has been, I should say, very difficult to kind of just be like, okay, God, I'm going to wait. It's been hard, and it still is hard. Like, I feel like I can smile about it now and I can laugh a bit now, because it's not as bad as it was, but still, oh my, waiting has been hard. And then another part of this season where I've had to wait is even in terms of my of job hunting. So I don't know if I told you guys about this in a previous vlog, but I started working. Then for health reasons, I had to give that one up again. So it's been all about job hunting, and I don't know, I haven't been as motivated as I usually am when it comes to job hunting. And because of something else that is added on, health-wise, which I will disclose in a later vlog, it's been very hard to keep myself motivated, because I hate being in that period of where I start working, I'm actually enjoying stuff, and then health gets involved, and then I have to give it up. And that constant fear, I think, has been playing in my mind. But it also, I have realised that it usually happens when I rush into a job. And as I said, I'm not a patient person, so as soon as I'm like, okay, I feel pressure to do it, I will stop. I will go head first into something without actually thinking about it, without even sometimes praying properly about it. Usually I do try to pray, I'm getting better at it. I usually do try to pray, but sometimes it's not praying like I should be, or praying diligently like I should be. So this time I'm trying to do that. Then another bit that's added on to this waiting period has actually been with my health issues, because in my mind I tell myself I can do something, I can do it, and to the point that I continually push myself till my body gives up, and that's when I actually take a break and be like, okay, I actually should have waited. But as I said, it takes time for me to do that, and it's something that I'm working on with God, because even the previous week from when I'm recording this, I actually I felt good, like physically I felt actually alright, but in my mind now that is Chelsea, go and do the most. So I did the most, and then yesterday, from the day that I'm recording this, my body gave up and I just crashed. Like, I felt so weak, my body felt strange, and I haven't felt like that in a very long time. And then it made me start to think, Chelsea, sometimes you just need to keep cool, you just need to not be rushing around trying to do everything. And as I said, this waiting period has been a difficult one because I'm not really the waiting kind of person. And God in this time has been showing me that I need to wait, I need to be patient. Not only has he been showing me through the 3 things that I just told you guys about, but also I think it was the quarterly. So again, this is like little, I don't know how to describe it, but like study lessons. So it will be different topics, and they'll have material like readings that you can read on it, and then you have like Bible verses and stuff that match up with what is being explained in the study guides, and it was talking about like waiting and like crucible moments, because sometimes when we're in our waiting period, even though it may feel uncomfortable, it might not be a bad waiting period, if that makes sense, but then there are sometimes waiting periods where they're really hard. So like you're going through something very difficult and you feel like you're waiting for a breakthrough, and it just seems to not be happening. So you can have waiting periods like that, but in the quarterly it was talking about that. And then, as I said, the little things that I've been going through during this season, and I was like, okay, I think God is trying to teach me something. And sometimes God has to allow almost extremes for me to actually listen. Like I said, with my body, I will say in my mind I can do it, and then even if I could do it, because now I've gone to the extreme of doing more than I actually could do, my body pays for it. And I think sometimes, because I am very stubborn and sometimes I do not listen to God when it's at a lower level, sometimes God allows it to get a bit higher, and then I'm like, okay, I need to listen, I need to take a step back and just wait and be a bit more patient. So that ended up having to happen when it came to my family situation, because as I said, I couldn't control everything, and I started to feel really stressed out, almost depressed about everything. My mental health, my physical health, emotional, spiritual health really was being really affected. So I actually, as I said, had to be forced into waiting on God. So I had to start depending on God fully, because during that time I was praying, but I know I wasn't praying like I should be. And sometimes we convince ourselves that we're doing enough because we're like, well, I'm still praying, but we know that we're not praying like we should be, or we know we're not praying as much as we should be, or how we should be. And that was definitely for me, because as much as I was praying to God, I was still trying to control things. But when I fully kind of just couldn't do it anymore, I just had to be like, God, just take it from my hands. Things started to look up. Like I said in a previous vlog, everything seems to be a bit more calmer. Don't get me wrong, the problem hasn't gone away. There's still problems, there's still issues, things still flag up. But I feel so much calmer and at peace with everything a lot more than I did. And just being patient in how God is answering, and just being like, okay, Chelsea, you can't do anything, but God can, so we're going to wait on him. And these are the kind of conversations I'm constantly having in my head because I do not listen. So I have to keep reminding myself, okay, Chelsea, you can trust it in God's hands. And then even when it comes to health issues, God a lot lately has been making me kind of reflect back on how things have happened and what things have happened with previous health our problems, and just how when I fully learned to be patient and just wait on his response, wait on his answer, not trying to do everything for myself, how he kind of came through. And even though it didn't feel like how I thought it would feel, I actually felt, again, that peace, that calm. And I guess when I was thinking about this and thinking about this concept of patience and waiting, it made me think of Ecclesiastes chapter 3. Like, I thought about it as a whole chapter, but one verse in particular I want to read. And it's taken from, as I said, Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 1. And it says, "To everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven." And I guess you guys can see where I'm going with this one. But sometimes when we're rushing into things and we think that we know better, we end up actually causing ourselves more harm and more hurt and more damage. We end up being stressed. That's a big one. We end up being stressed. We end up maybe in positions and places where God never intended for us to be. We end up carrying extra baggage that maybe wasn't even supposed to be our baggage. And yeah, it doesn't even just affect you on a spiritual level. It starts to affect your emotional state, your mental state, your physical state. It just starts to affect you as a whole. And but this verse reminds us that there is a time for everything. So just because that time may not have come or isn't coming when you expect it to, it doesn't mean that it's not going to come at the right time. And one thing that with those things that you know, but when you're trying to put it into practice, it's quite hard. So with me, it's kind of that knowing that God's timing is perfect, but putting that into practice and like, okay, God, your timing is perfect, so I'm just going to wait on it. Yeah, not always the easiest thing. So this verse just kind of puts my mind at focus and like, Chelsea, okay, it might not be coming when you expect it to, but there is a time for everything. And I don't know what you're going through. I don't know if you're in a waiting period at this moment. I don't know if maybe you've just gotten out of a waiting period, and if you have, I'm very jealous. Just being honest, because the waiting periods, it doesn't feel nice. But whether you're in a waiting period or not, I just want to remind you to keep God at the forefront of everything, of every decision, because waiting in and of itself is not a bad thing. When we wait for things, we learn things along the way, and I've definitely started to realize that when it comes to things of God, because sometimes I'll rush to do something or rush into something, and then when I've actually ended up having to wait for it, I actually realized that, okay, you know what, God, I actually understand why you told me not to get it now, because I couldn't deal with it now. And it's actually quite freeing in the waiting period, in the waiting stages, as much as it may be a difficult thing. And hear me out, the reason why I say it's freeing, because it kind of takes the pressure off you. It's like, okay, God, I am choosing to trust you with this, so I'm giving this over to you. I'm not going to stress about it, but I'm going to wait. I'm going to be patient with you, so knowing that you're going to deal with this. And that kind of, for me anyway, frees me to just do other things and not stressing about things that I can't control anyway. So as I said again, I just pray that if you are in a waiting season, and I don't know what you're waiting for, maybe no one knows what you're waiting for except God, but I just urge you and pray that you will wait in this season, that you'll actually enjoy the season that you're in. And it's something that someone said to me once, just to enjoy the situation, the circumstances that you find yourself in now, because when you go into a new situation or circumstance, like I spoke about in my previous vlog about new beginners, when you go into those new beginners, they come with their own trials, they come with their own problems, their situations. And even in God's word, it tells us not to worry about tomorrow, because today already has enough trouble of its own. And when we just learn to just be content where we are and just to wait on God and to trust Him with everything, we feel this kind of peace. We feel this kind of just like, kind of feeling. And it doesn't always come automatically, and as I said, waiting does come with its own frustrations because we're human. We like things like that. We like instant gratification, but we need to learn to wait, because waiting, as I said, carries so many blessings. Even when we think about waiting for Jesus to come back, I know that there have been people that were Adventists long before I even became Adventist, long before I was even born, and they may be in that place of, well, we've been hearing this from when we've been young, that Jesus is coming, Jesus is coming. But you know how sweet that coming is going to be when it comes, and you know all that waiting is going to be nothing compared to what is going to come when, or what is going to happen when Jesus returns. And it's likewise on a smaller scale when it comes to our waiting periods. Whatever is coming, whatever is God has planned for you at the end of this waiting period, it's going to be so worth it, because God is the one that is giving it to you, and God gives good gifts. In fact, scrap that, I would say God gives great gifts, amazing gifts. And just waiting for those gifts, it may be hard, as I said, but it's definitely worth it. And I just pray that you'll find peace, you'll find comfort, you'll find the strength to endure through this waiting season, this waiting period, and that your patience will develop, your patience will grow, and that you will be blessed. And hopefully you'll be blessing other people during this waiting period too. So you never know. But yes, I just want to leave you with that there is a time for everything. So I hope you guys were blessed and encouraged. And please pray for me, because I am trying to be more patient, and I pray that you guys will be too, and that you will trust God in this waiting period. But by the grace of God, I will see you guys in 2 weeks' time. Bye.